You're watching Fugitive Redeye, and welcome to another Redeye Responds. So you remember Phantom Strider, right? I've responded to him a couple of times. And as I've said before, Phantom Strider as a person seems like an okay guy. He tends to take criticism really well. He's just kind of a pussy when it comes to explicit content, but again, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with not liking graphic content. He also really doesn't like anything that's mean-spirited or anything like that. Again, that's fine if that's his preference. And as I said, he takes criticism really well, so I don't necessarily hate the guy. In fact, sometimes I've enjoyed his content. It's a rare occasion, I'll give you that, but I have enjoyed some of his content from time to time. And as a person, I don't have a problem with him. But today we're going to be taking a look at two more anime videos. There's going to be some overlap from the stuff I talked about in the previous anime video of his I talked about, simply due to the fact that he talks about some of the same series on here, so I might reiterate some of the same points, but I'll probably cut down on that a little bit just to make it not too repetitive. In the last two Phantom Strider videos I responded to, they were older Phantom Strider videos, which in my opinion actually have one thing better than the newer ones. While I do think overall his production quality has gotten better over the years, there's something he does now that he didn't used to do. And that's that he includes a ton of fucking cringy-ass skits. He is very cringy in his newer videos. I'm gonna go ahead and show a highlight reel of cringe from these next two videos that we'll be talking about today.
Konnichiwa. Unless I had help from one of the masters of anime.
Did someone just say master of anime?
Oh, hey.
I can do that now. Because, Phantom Strider, there is a little thing in the anime world that we called hentai.
Oh yeah, hentai exists, right. And of course, since we're talking anime, we need the help of a true master of anime. We need a true anime master.
Did someone say puppeteer, master?
I certainly will. Hey, do you mind calling Robin for me? I think my crossover static is broken.
No problem, Josh. I'll call her for you.
Much obliged, Matt.
Did someone say master of anime? Remind me to fix that later.
No, I don't remember it. What are you staring at, Robin?
No, you'll see soon enough. Sweet David Bowie, Jesus help me! Have you seen your dislike bar?
Jeebus!
Just keeps getting higher and higher and...
Now, hopefully, this isn't too much, but it's to give you a good idea of just how fucking bad he is now. There it is, boys. As you can see, both him and his guest host, Anime America, are very fucking cringy. So, he has her in both of his videos that we'll be talking about today. We're gonna start with his top 10 worst anime of all time list, which is essentially both of these kind of combined make up the new version of that old video, because that old video he doesn't have up anymore. So this one covers some of the ones that he just considers the absolute worst, and then the next one we'll take a look at will be ones that other people like but he hates. So we'll talk about this one first. So let's just jump in.
Unfortunately, this means Japan also has some of the worst cartoons in the world.
Well, can you boys see what he shows here? See what he uses as an example as one of the worst animes? You can tell that I'm super pleased with that. Fuck off, Phantom Strider. He shits on Violence Jack a lot. In the last two videos I've talked about him, it is shown that he makes fun of Violence Jack and shits on Violence Jack. He does that in this too. He does that a fucking lot.
We'll be excluding hentai from this list. And please, for the love of humanity, don't look these anime up.
I can say, at least on Violence Jack, don't listen to him on that. Violence Jack is fucking great, and fuck him for continually saying otherwise.
Let's check out the top 10 worst anime of all time.
Just a heads up, I'm skipping quite a few of these, because I haven't heard of a lot of them, and some of them do look genuinely bad. The first one he talked about was some bludgeoning angel thing. I think that looks kind of interesting. I don't think it looks bad. I might actually check it out sometime. But I haven't heard of a lot of these. The one with the big tits looks pretty stupid, so we're just skipping over the ones I haven't seen.
The second worst anime of all time is Violence Jack.
Well, I've already given my piece on why he's wrong about this. Violence Jack is a really cool, post-apocalyptic anime. It's kind of similar to Fist of the North Star, but much more violent and graphic. It's also made by Go Nagai, the creator of Devilman, and the manga has a connection to that and several other Go Nagai series, but the anime doesn't really tie in. I'll admit the OVA trilogy does not do the manga justice, but it's really nowhere near as bad as he's making it out to be. The gore and stuff like that adds to the effect of just how terrible the situation is in the anime. And overall, I've already made my piece about that. If you want my opinion on that, just go back to the last anime video I discussed with Phantom Strider, because it's the same shit.
Evidence of Evil Town, a trapped, underground, vermin-infested city. It turns out there's actually a perfectly fine world above them. They just seem to like living like this.
You're not just wrong, you're stupid. And you're ugly, just like your mum.
Okay, new point, actually. No, first off, Evil Town is the plot to one episode, not all three. Second off, the world above is not perfectly fine. If you've watched the other two episodes, you know that it's fucking hell up there, too. And number three, they don't like being down there. They're fucking trapped and have not been able to leave. That's kind of the point of Evil Town, and that's why they're digging their way out. It sounds to me like you didn't really pay attention. Or in other words...
You weren't listening, were you?
He asked the inhabitants to call him Violence Jack. Why violence? Because he likes violence. And why Jack? Because he has a jackknife.
Like I said last time, it's a gross oversimplification. He doesn't just like violence, as he likes to put it. No, he causes a storm of violence wherever he goes. Literally, that's where he gets the name, is because violence surrounds him. He's drawn to him, and he is drawn to it. The jackknife, yeah, it's because he carries the jackknife. But the violence and the storm of violence around him is what it's about. It's not because he likes violence, it's because he naturally attracts it, kind of like a magnet naturally attracts metal.
Violence Jack is basically the anime equivalent to a tasteless snuff fest.
I've seen a couple of people who talk about Violence Jack use the word snuff, but you do realize that snuff means real murder filmed and, distributed because it's real murder. Violence Jack is animated. There's no way to have an anime equivalent to a snuff fest, but, I guess there's a lot of death in it, so that's what you mean. But, you could say that about a lot of things, so no. Just no.
Morality just isn't a concept that even exists in this world.
False.
That's absolutely wrong. Morality is definitely fleeting. There's not a lot of it. But you definitely see morality in the world of Violence Jack. Jack himself is, the one who's protecting them. He's not exactly a beacon of morality. He's not exactly Kenshiro, but he's still got his morals. I did a whole overanalyzing about his morals, actually. But not only that, but you also have, June, the school teacher, and the kid are all examples of morality in Hell's Wind, which is a different episode, which, again, it looks to me like you don't even know that multiple episodes of this show exist.
If you should ever have the misfortune to find a copy of this in your local bargain bin, I recommend you burn it.
And I recommend you buy it, because it's a good watch. Not to mention the fact that you're not going to find it in a bargain bin for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's not exactly the most common thing in the world. You can still find it pretty cheap online, especially with the Discotheque re-release, but it's not exactly the most sought-after thing. It's very underrated, in my opinion. So if you found it in a bargain bin, fucking buy that shit immediately, because it's worth it. Trust me, it's worth every penny. I spent maybe 15 to 20 bucks on it. Still worth it. I actually have 2 different copies of Violence Jack, so I highly recommend that you buy it if you find it. I might actually buy the VHSs at some point, too, just for collection purposes.
Ojo Tsubaki.
Not gonna really touch on this one because I haven't seen it, but yeah, it was also in the other video, so I just thought I'd point out what his number 1 was. And from what I understand, isn't it kind of a hentai? Because isn't it an Iroguro manga? I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to the other video, his top 5 animes that everyone likes but he hates.
Would you mind helping me out this list?
I'd be happy to help, but are you sure about this list? Some of these titles are pretty controversial. I'd be happy to give my opinions on your choices, but are you absolutely sure?
One thing I like about this one better than the other one is that she actually gives some different opinions than him and disagrees with him on certain aspects of it, so it's kind of a back and forth. So that's going for it pretty well. As with the other one, I'm probably going to skip any ones I'm not familiar with, but anyway, let's jump in.
Elfen Lied.
Hey look, it's another one I already talked about. Again, he misses the point on Elfen Lied, and I've already explained why in the previous video. I'll attack some of his points again, but again, it is the same points essentially.
While I've no problem with violence in anime, it normally has to be for some artistic purpose or...
And it is for an artistic purpose. Art is subjective. Who are you to say what's artistic and what isn't?
And what's infuriating is it's pretending to be deep with its violence.
Like I said last time, it is actually deep with its violence. It's all about, isolation, ostracization, being treated like shit. It's all about prejudice. It's literally an allegory for prejudice. That's what it fucking is. It's also an allegory for, betrayal. And, you know, people not being trustworthy, because that's a true statement. Yes, it's a cynical message, but it is a message nonetheless. It's also all about, you know, what is the value of humanity? What does it mean to be a human? But again, these are all points I've previously addressed, so I think we're gonna move on.
And an ultra-violent NC-17 rated mass-killing gorefest.
Elfenlied wouldn't be NC-17, it'd just be a hard R rating. A very hard R at that, but not NC-17. It's not graphic enough for that. Trust me, gore rarely is, because our society is all about, you know, sex to make something NC-17. Very rarely will violence get you an NC-17.
There's this stupid underlying theme that people are cruel.
People are cruel. Have you ever lived in the fucking real world?
And there are a lot of good points about this show. One thing I did like about Elfenlied is some of the main characters are really endearing.
Holy shit, he actually had something positive to say? I mean, it kind of contradicts him saying that none of the characters felt like real people and everyone was cruel just for the sake of being cruel, but he had a positive thing to say, boys. We got him.
Sword Art Online.
I'm not a fan of Sword Art Online either. It's not terrible, but if anything, I'd say actually more people hate it than like it now. It's gotten to the point where it became so popular that it became unpopular. I have not met a single person who says that Sword Art Online is like the greatest thing ever anymore. Nobody thinks that it's that great anymore. If anything, it's underrated now. Now, granted, it has its good moments, and I've heard some good things about the new series of Alicization or whatever, but I haven't seen any of it. But yeah, I'd agree, Sword Art Online isn't particularly great, and it was popular for a time. It's really not anymore. If anything, it's just kind of the normie anime that people who don't watch anime know about, so yeah.
Original Neon Genesis Evangelion.
And I'm not alone on this one, yes! Come join me, Strider, as together we shall bag on Neon Genesis Evangelion, the one—
Now, I've never seen it. I just thought that was worth including, because I'm sure lots of people have an opinion about that show. And I've never seen it, so I can't say whether or not I like it.
1. Death Note.
Death Note? What's wrong with Death Note?
Ew, cringe, but yes, what is wrong with Death Note? Well, if you watched my previous Phantom Strider response, then you know it's gonna be Light Yagami, because he doesn't like Light Yagami. He made that abundantly clear. But he also claimed to like Death Note in the previous one, but now he's saying it's his #1 anime that he hates that everyone likes. So I'm a little confused on that number, but yeah.
One thing, and it's a big problem. Light Yagami.
Ew, why did you pronounce it like that? You said it right last time, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Throughout the series, he's clearly made out to be the bad guy.
I'd argue that's not true. I'd say Death Note does not have a definitive bad guy, and if anything, I'd say Light himself is just another victim of the Death Note. Because in the Yotsuba arc, you actually get to see what he was like without the Death Note, when he loses ownership of it and loses his memory. He's actually a sweet and kind, caring individual. He's just a victim of the Notebook. So no, he's not the bad guy. And also, L does a lot of bad things too, sacrificing Lindell Taylor. And on top of that, he's also not doing it for the right reasons. He's only doing it because he wants a challenge. L is kind of a bad guy too. He's doing good things for the wrong reasons, and Light's doing bad things for the right reasons. There is no clear-cut good and bad in Death Note. That's the whole fucking point.
And frankly, the fact that no one could figure out that Light was Kira after all those years is ridiculous.
L knew from the start. He literally approached him saying, "I suspect you are Kira," and that's how they met. He just couldn't prove it. The fact is, he needed evidence to convict him, otherwise he didn't win. Because again, L wanted to win. He couldn't just kill Light, and he couldn't just turn him in without evidence either.
At least in the original live-action Japanese movie, L points out that based on the analysis they made of Kira's IQ and age, it was likely to be Light. And that took him about a week to figure out, yet alone years.
That also happens in the anime. What the fuck are you talking about? That's in both versions, and the manga. So, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're wrong, okay? That happens. L tells from the start who Light is. He's able to figure it out like that. It's freakish how easily he figures it out. He just can't prove it. That's the goddamn point. And just like that, there's the end of another Phantom Strider response. I hope you boys enjoyed this one. Have a good one.
Mr. Hat gets a nose job